But we'll bring it on over. Welcome back in. We are a child of the light. And we are here. I'm trying to remember exactly where it is I left off here, because I am definitely not at the beginning of the game. Oh yeah, I forgot. I just entered this particular zone here. I was doing some stuff over there. I might bump up the audio just a touch higher here. Let's do like 40. 40 is probably all right. Now this area, or this part of the game in particular, does have some stuff that... Hello? My controller? Hello? What is happening to my controller? It's just not doing things. Hold on. Well, that is bizarre. Give me a moment. I'm resetting my controller so that it doesn't spin. I don't know why it was doing a spin. There we go. Okay. So the basic general plot line is we are a child of light, and there are all of these lost spirits. You can see one that I've got with me floating behind me, that little blue guy there. We rescue them and bring them to the temple at the end of each area. We do that across 6 different realms, I believe it is. And then there is a final 7th realm, only known as Eden. I have not been there yet because I'm scared. It's a big red portal, and yeah, that terrifies me. I'm just now learning that the number pad that I usually use for my expressions also correlates to the emote shortcuts in-game, so that might complicate things a little bit. I guess we'll just have to see. But yeah, I've been putting off going to the end game because I've seen warnings to only go there when you're really ready. And I am not really ready. I will say that much. I do not feel really ready to go in there. But another fun thing about this experience in particular is that you are not usually alone in the world. You can find these different little... people can leave messages in the water. And every so often, the game instances will merge so that you'll be put into a world with other people. So those sounds that we heard and those little rings of light we saw off in the distance in that previous area was another person making sounds. I can do that too. You can just do this little... You can do a regular call, or you can hold for a deep call. Now this guy is a fun little guy. Kind of reminds me of my experience playing Outer Wilds and dealing with the anglerfish. Except it's kind of an inverse experience, but still equally intimidating, if not more so. Because whereas the anglerfish, their detection is based off of sound, these guys, which the community have dubbed krill, these guys are based off of vision. You can always see where it is that their vision is, because that's that blue light that shines in front of them. If you step into that blue light, it turns red, and they get ready to pounce on you. And you do generally want to avoid being pounced upon if you can possibly help it. Because there is a consequence to taking damage from things like those attacks. Oh boy, we're really sandwiched in here. This is not a great place to be. Maybe that's why they put the map shrine here. To make it challenging. Make it a little tricky. I'm just gonna try to get across the water here. I gotta get out of here. Yeah, so it's an interesting little experience. Is this where I want to be? Oh, that connects to here. Okay. That does make sense. Okay, I have been here before. That other area I just came from was somewhere I had started exploring yesterday, but hadn't fully gone through yet. Because what I'm trying to do right now is there are these collectibles called Winged Light. And if you collect enough of them, you basically get more flight power. So you start off with only 1 bar of flight power, and then the more of them you collect, you can have several of them start to stack up over time. And that basically just gives you more stamina to fly for longer, or to be able to lift yourself higher. Now, the only conventional way to refill your flight power is by being near sources of light. As you can imagine, in a game with the subtitle Children of the Light, light is important. It is an important facet of how the game functions. So across the world, there are all sorts of little sconces and candles and different places that you can light with your own personal candle. And those sources of light, if you stand near them, you can replenish your flight power, which also secondarily in areas like this kind of acts like a health meter. In a certain way. Like these other silhouettes are other people running around at the same time. And by default, people just start as those featureless grave sort of silhouettes. But if you choose to, you can light each other's candles, and then you can see what they look like how you can see my appearance right now. You can then see their appearance if you if you light candles. And after that, if you want to add someone to your friends, you can do that, I think, by offering them a candle. There's candles that are currency. You usually collect these little pieces of fire from red candles that are throughout the world, and burning some, there's like this darkness vegetation. If you burn it, you usually get some, I think they call it wax, actually. I'm not 100% fully confident on the terminology of everything yet. But that candle icon in the upper left corner is like a general currency. Like probably the most basic currency that the game has to offer. I won't get too into explaining any of the higher tier currencies because I haven't really done much with them yet. But I believe if you offer someone a candle, you can that then allows you to add them to your friend list. Now the game doesn't actually reveal what your username is to anybody else. When you friend somebody, you have the chance to give them a nickname of your choosing. They do also have a button that lets you pick a random one. If you're like me and are not super quick with coming up with fun little names for people, it's an interesting little feature. And once you've friended somebody, you can send each other little gifts. Because one of the gifts you can send is you spend 3 candles and you send them a heart. And hearts are, I believe they're a cosmetic currency. So unlocking new things like capes or the instrument on my back, stuff like that, that happens usually with hearts, I think. At least in the earlier parts of the game, that's what I've been using to unlock some of the earlier cosmetic items at the beginning of the game. So you can send hearts to each other using the candles. I think that's maybe a once a day thing. And I think in their most recent patch, they just added the ability to spend 2 candles and you can send what they call a friend post. And I think it functions essentially like a direct message, like you can send messages back and forth to each other even when one of you is not online at the time. One thing that this game does that's very interesting is there are certain places where there are white candles in sort of like a social space. There's usually like a bench or something that you can sit on that the candle is also on. And for the duration of that candle being lit, if you and another person sit at that spot, you can actually use the in-game chat with each other. By default, a message is anonymous and doesn't show any text. You can't really see it through me. I can hide myself for a second so you can kind of see it back there. Yeah, you can see the messages are completely anonymous by default. So it's interesting having this sort of MMO type experience where there's this persistent multiplayer and social aspect to things, but it's a lot more actively opt-in than I think most other games really do. Because a lot of other multiplayer games, you can see other people's chats by default. This game does it a little differently. It gives you a lot of room to socially engage more so on your own terms and kind of dictate what feels the most comfortable for you and your own personal preference, which I think is a really interesting way to tackle things. Yeah, so what I've been doing here is mainly just looking for collectibles. Like I said, those winged lights are the main thing I've been looking for. Because boy, are they useful. Being able to fly more makes getting around a lot easier, especially in certain places. One other thing that I've been doing a lot is, now that I've been to all of the normal realms, I've been tackling a lot more of the side quest chains. There's a lot of different side quests in some different areas that have gotten added to the game over time. They were added as seasonal content, but the areas themselves are still accessible after the season is over. I'm not 100% sure which ones are and aren't accessible at any given point. I'm still fairly new in that regard for sure. But that's what I've been mainly doing recently, just to try and unlock more things. Just having more options cosmetically. I'm still working with some very early on cosmetic items. I'd like to spruce up a little bit. I think I've done pretty well so far with what's been available to me. And also just taking the opportunity to go through and try and find more of those winged lights to increase my flight capabilities. And one thing I've learned here, as soon as I try to light this, we're gonna get, what is it, like 3 krill are gonna come over the hill there. So I want to make sure there's nobody out and about. That deep call should be visible to anybody. Oh, yep, there's still someone over there. Okay. So I'm not going to light this. Because if there's somebody out there, the krill come over those hills, so they might get attacked. I wouldn't want to do that to them. So we'll burn some more of these darkness plants here. So right now, one thing that's happening is the Days of Color. Days of Color event is going on right now. I think that's what causes the differently colored butterflies to be spawned in different locations and coming out of the darkness vegetation when we burn it. Because normally I think it just provides wax to build more candles. There's like glowing orange orbs. I still haven't figured out what to do with the dyes that are gathered from these butterflies. But I am planning to look into that soon, because I do want to add some color. Right now, I'm just a simple little guy. Hello, friend. Oh, there's a winged light over there, huh? I guess I should grab that next time. I can come back for it. I'll come back for it next time since we've actually gotten a chance to get in here. So yeah, there they go. See, I see if there's anyone out there, then this becomes a real risky endeavor. Let me see if I can grab this real quick. Think I got it? Maybe? No, it didn't give it to me yet. Hold on. There we go. Now we gotta fly in here before we get spotted. Or the gate closes. Oh, speaking of which, I've cut it a little close there. That's why I've been revisiting these areas, because I just miss little stuff like that. I mean, can hardly blame anyone for missing that little guy right there. The krill come over the mound in the distance, and you just kind of want to get moving. One thing that also makes the cooperative experience very heavily incentivized, there's a couple of different things. First off, there are some areas that you can only access by having multiple people light up different devices at the same time. So there are some areas that you basically have to have multiple people working together to even be able to access in the first place. And a single instance of an area can only have up to 8 people maximum. So you'll see up to 7 other people in the same area as you at any given point at most. There is actually an area, an elevator specifically, that requires all 8 people, I think at least intentionally. I think it might technically be barely possible to do with 7 people. But that, someone has to really know what they're doing to pull that off. But it's designed to be done with 8 people. So you have to actually coordinate with 8 other people to all be lighting up these torches around on an elevator to get it to work. So this area here, this is, we just lit an altar at the temple. This is where we bring the spirits that we find within a realm. And we unlock their constellation, which is basically like an unlock, like an unlock tree. You can spend candles and hearts and different things to unlock different pieces of their cosmetics, or different expressions for us to use. Some fun stuff like that. And each one comes with its own little cutscene here. Figure I let that play out. Because I've seen these before, but just to show what one looks like. So let's check out the new constellation that we unlocked here. is? Okay. So we unlocked the Stealthy Survivor. So we could unlock, for 5 hearts, we could unlock the hairstyle that they have. I think I'm personally fine without it. What I am going to do though is go over here, unlock this spot, and then I want to spend 3 candles to get another heart. Stock up on hearts so that when I do come across cosmetics that I want, I'll have enough hearts to be able to add them into the collection. Look at all these people here. So many people. Let's see, I'm gonna pop up here real quick, just to be a little bit out of the way. One thing I also found that was pretty interesting, not only do you unlock different expressions, things like being able to wave or as a real knee slapper, stuff like that. There's also different calls you can unlock. So this is what you sound like by default. And then there's some unlockable calls from saving different spirits. I personally like the, I think that's the whale call. And there's also different stances. So normally you stand like this, just by default. You just have this sort of stance. You can have a wider stance, the confident stance, the crossed arms stance, the stealthy, sneaky stance, or the one that I like, the more refined, reserved, sort of hands folded, the clasped hands kind of posture. I thought that was a really neat way of handling things. So now that we've gone through the spooky zone, I'm gonna head back into, I believe this is the vault. There's this area here that I have not been to, because there's these different spirit gates that you need to have rescued a certain number of spirits in specific realms to access. Now that I actually have the requisite requirements to get in here, I'm gonna check it out. This is totally new. Never been in here before. And each new space that you enter has one of these little map shrines. I haven't really looked into how the map works specifically, so I'm not entirely sure how much use it has for different scenarios. It's something to fill out the bigger picture, so it looks pretty nice. Certainly no complaints there. And I'm sure it is helpful. I just don't know how to interpret it yet. That's another thing about this game, is it's relatively, beyond some of the absolute basics, it is very minimal in its instruction. It'll give you enough to work off of to perform the general functions needed to get through each of the realms. Anything more advanced than that is probably best either discovered through trial and error, or, if you prefer, research. I have no idea what any of this is all about, so we're just gonna check it out. Although I will say, that drawing there does look awfully familiar to me. We'll see what this is about. Sky is a game of very few words. Most of the storytelling is done through visuals, pantomiming, and audio. There isn't really any dialogue to speak of, and only partially intended. The only vocalizations I've heard are in the music itself. It seems like a neat little place. Here is the story of the 9-colored deer. A benevolent beast from long ago. One day, a child was lost. In a valley filled with darkness. It me. I am the child. Oh, those are sapping my energy. I wasn't entirely sure what was going on there. Should be quick about this then. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I got nibbled. Child was scared and tried to escape. Let's see if I can try to avoid whatever next one comes up. Oh, look who it is. Back for round 2. Did I make it? Oh, is that the 9-colored deer? The 9-colored deer rescued the child. And said, "Come and visit my beautiful home." This area in particular feels very Journey. That's another game I need to play. I think this is made by the same people, right? That's another game I need to play sometime. Crescent Oasis, home of the 9-colored deer. Ah, the spirit of mural. So this is the kind of thing I've been doing a lot of recently. There are like these isolated quest chains. Looks like we found another one. So this is one of those areas that was introduced in a prior season, but is now still accessible for general access. In this way, the 9-colored deer saved the child from a monster. Indeed they did. You can get hearts from these, so that can be pretty handy. Sometimes they give you hearts, sometimes they give you access to different cosmetics from the season. There are some that are exclusive to... There is like a season pass sort of system during the time that the season is active. So there are some things that are time and money exclusive. But there are some things that come back later for general access. That's another aspect that I'm not fully educated about because it concerns content that existed in a time-based fashion before I even started playing. One day, a monster came to Crescent Oasis. A little scuttlebug. All of the animals hid in fear. The 9-colored deer went looking for the animals. But they were all missing. Find the crab hiding in the sand. Golly, I wonder where it could be. First thing I want to do is I see that map shrine over there. I want to go hit that real quick. Or, you know, if I get close enough, it'll just bring me in. Hello, little crab. Rude? What are you doing? Chill out, dude. We're all good. I have to stick with it, huh? Over this way. I just gotta stick with him. We'll make it there at his pace. I was gonna say earlier, one other thing about the co-op system. One thing you can do is you can, if someone runs out of light, you can actually relight their candle to sort of revive them. And if you're standing next to another person, you actually both regain, you both recharge your light power over time. Something else that's pretty cute about the way they've implemented the co-op system too is you can actually hold hands with other people, and it actually adds a little bit It adds like a slight heartbeat sound to the mix, which is really, really adorable. And that also makes it so you both move together. Basically, one of you can move and the other person will just stick right to them because they're holding hands. So you can actually have people be guided around by other people just by holding hands. So that was a really interesting system too. Not many games have that as an implementation of following. Hello, jellyfish. Same story here, we just need to kind of follow them at their pace. Not get too far away from them. Lead them in the right direction. Fun thing about these jellyfish, they actually can fly in the air. So yeah, you'll just pop straight out. Come on. Come on, buddy. Keep it coming. There you go, there you go. Almost there, there we go. We got him. Yeah, so one thing that can make the game a lot easier is if you have a bunch of friends all together, or if you just have a bunch of people all holding hands together, you actually recharge enough light power that you can just keep yourself in the air for a much longer period of time than you would be on your own with no natural light regeneration. Now there are different items or spells or something like that, something consumable that you can purchase with, I believe you can use candles for it, that does give you some abilities like having your light recharge over time regardless of whether you're near a light source. I don't usually mess around with consumables, so I know nothing about that. Oh, Manta's in trouble. They are being actively hunted. We need the 9-colored deer's help. Let us go and see what they suggest as a course of action. Love the little footstep sounds they got. The 9-colored deer knew just what to do. Alright, what's the plan? Fill me in. What do we got? Whoa, it made a noise and scared that thing off. This 9-colored deer has got some serious power. Yeah, I think the flight mechanics are kind of interesting because there's two flight modes you can be in. One of them is hover mode, where you have a lot of aerial control, but you just sort of float toward the ground. And then you have a flight mode, which lacks some of the finer control, but it gives you the ability to get more distance and such out of your flight power. You can just freely swap between them at any time during your flight. You can tell which mode you're in a couple of different ways. There's an icon in the lower right corner when you're flying that shows what mode you have active. But interestingly, the flight meter at the very top of the screen, that actually is more consolidated when you're in hover mode, but then it like fans out when you're in flight mode, similar to like how your cape would be fanned out more while you're flying. If you look at the back of my cape as well, you can see the stars on the back of it. So there's actually a lot of diegetic user interface implemented. You could, if you wanted to, use the cape to determine how much flight power you currently have available. That's pretty cool too. I like having diegetic measurement like that. With benevolence, 9-colored deer protects all living things. Get another heart. Let's see what the next mural brings. The lake, okay. One thing, I haven't messed around with it too much, but one of the side quests did involve this. You can actually play the instruments. They're not just decoration. One day, the 9-colored deer wanted a companion. Oh, heck yes. This is great. With the child, the deer celebrated the beauty of life. I'll say there are not many games that have gotten me as emotional as consistently as this one has. There's just something about the simple beauty of how it's formed. A manta appeared, being hunted by a villager. But the manta was too quick. The villager fell into the lake. Oh, man cannot swim. The 9-colored deer knew just what to do. There have been a lot of little moments throughout my entire experience of playing this that have really gotten some strong emotion out of me. I'm surprised by how frequently it's come up. See what the 9-colored deer will do here. I'll just straight lift him out with the lotus flower. Very symbolic. Sacrificing some magic. The deer brought the villager back to life. Here you can see a little example of the hand holding. So you can do this with other players too. I haven't personally initiated it myself, but I have had a couple of other people use it to take me around to different places. In thanks, the villager offered to serve the deer forever. The deer only asked that their encounter be kept secret. But the villager knew that he could be rewarded. But the princess desired the deer. So the villager returned to tell the king about what he'd seen. Must be the princess there. The king set out to hunt the deer. Well, this can only end poorly for one or both parties. I did see a winged light over here. So let's pop by and grab that. Because grabbing one of those does fully recharge your light power. So as long as you have the means to get to them, you can just immediately be back at full light power. Even if you've already collected that particular winged light, you can still stand at the spot that they used to be, and you will recharge some light over time. So they still provide at least a little bit of benefit, even after they've already been collected. Sometimes it can be handy. And so another part of the mural is completed. In this way, the 9-colored deer was betrayed. See, if I had 50 candles, I could unlock a little flower. I assume that would be something I put maybe on my head or something like that. No idea. But I definitely do not have that many candles. Not by a long shot. I will have to get that another time. That is one I would be potentially interested in, though. But 50 candles, that's a lot. That takes some time. Behold the betrayal of the 9-colored deer. At the behest of the king's hunter, the villager tainted the waters. Ooh, that's symbolism, though. Thus a trap was set to snare the noble creature. Help the deer save the creatures trapped in the lake. Okay, I think we can do that. Let's see, we need to grab the ones up top first. Hold on. Yeah, if you don't get rid of all the darkness vegetation up to a certain point, it starts coming back. And these trees, these like darkness trees, are usually ones you have to have multiple people help with if they're large enough. Now that's another piece of its magic gone. Soon enough, it's not gonna have any. What then? With the child, the deer celebrated the beauty of life. I do also love the recontextualization of storylines like that. Having that contrast between celebrating the beauty of life in a very happy and carefree sort of way versus now celebrating the beauty of life as we try to rescue it from the opposite of life. Little scuttle crab. Pick him up. The hunter's poison had made the villager sick. Oh, I see where this is going, but no, he has no magic left. There's nothing he's gonna be able to do to save the villager, and the villager essentially brought this upon himself. This whole situation is just no good for anybody. Make it there, buddy. One step at a time. Oh yeah, he's not looking so good. Oh. Yeah, I thought that might be the case too. The king was pleased at the hunter's success. The villager was burdened by guilt. Oh, must continue the story. To see how this ends. In this way, the 9-colored deer was captured by the king. I'm just gonna stay here for a moment to let my light power recharge. You can see how my cape fills up with light for each bar of my light power. You can see all the little white stars on it. The ones with the borders represent an extra level of light beyond just the star itself. So the star is one level, and then that border is another level. One final quest in this story. Behold, the salvation of the 9-colored deer. We're off to the palace. I imagine there will probably be another winged light or two down there for us. Shadows devoured the realm. Oh yeah, that's no good. That's bad, actually. Weakened, the deer could not fend off the darkness. And it looks like it's up to us to do something about it. Another thing that refills light, your light power, is other creatures of light. Which is why standing next to spirits and other people also helps replenish it. Whoa! That booted me way far back. It'll probably be safer to explore after we've handled this whole darkness situation. Let's see if there's any sources of light around here. Nowhere nearby, from what I can tell. I have to go find one because I have no way of getting up to where I need to be. There's a fire over there, I think. Looks like something. There's one inside a shelter, that's probably better. Well, it's more protected, I guess. Not really very fast, though. Let's try this one. That's a lot faster. We are out in the open. We have to consider our risk being out here. Not really much going on in here. At least not right now. Oh, we just need to burn through here. Okay. Wasn't sure if we just needed to fly straight up to it or not. Does not appear so. We just go through here. Let's see, we need to burn this off of here first. Then we can go up. Here we are. Those pedestals are probably just to bring the lift to the upper or lower floors. Let's go help our friend. You need us now more than ever. That wasn't enough on its own. The villager sought to make things right. We're looking at over here. Oh, each of the creatures. Everything that had ever received its magic at some point. Send the jellyfish up there. Get the little scuttle crab. And tunnel his way up there. And then the manta. Take a quick look around in case there's any winged light down here. Don't see anything immediately. If there is anything down here, it's more hidden than that. We'll head back up. The 9-colored deer needs us. Whoa! The Ape Escape jump scare. Hello, Jay. Welcome on in. Thank you for 5 months. Much appreciated. We are vibing today. This is probably one of the most cozy games I've ever experienced. It just has a very, yeah, peaceful is a very good word to describe it. I've been doing pretty well. I'm finally back on my evening shift at work, so my sleep schedule is happy again. And this week in particular was a relatively quiet one for work. So having that little bit of a break is definitely nice after being like really busy for 2 weeks straight. Look who's back on their feet. Nine-colored deer knew just what to do. Whoa! Let's go. Oh, wow. We sure spent that light energy, but quick. I did not expect it to go that fast. Now we are empowered. We have essentially gone supersonic at this point. Wonder if I can actually reach them. Oh, nine-colored deer coming in. I gotta say, I do think this is one of the out of games that I've played that have some sort of light in them. This one definitely does a very good job of balancing between just the experience around flying is very cathartic. There is also some element of strategic resource management to it with the light power. It's so cool having them all come in for the assist like that. Whenever I do run out of light energy. That's one thing I think that this game is really particularly good at. It very much is a game where it's like, if you need help, you can always ask. You can have people assist you. People can choose to assist you. And it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of baggage to it or anything. Because people can assist without friending or anything. They can just like grab onto your hand and take you somewhere if you are having trouble getting someplace. And that sort of thing is reflected in moments like that too. If you don't have the power to do it all on your own, there are people there to help. Ashamed, the king vowed to protect all creatures henceforth. That is the mural complete. Not many games out there that I've played, at least, that have a vibe that quite matches what they've got going on here. Thus, peace and prosperity returned to the kingdom. The deer vanished into the wild. Living freely until the end of its days. And that is the story of the 9-colored deer. I suppose now the only question is how I go back to where I was before. To go to the other murals. I suppose we can explore. We did never get to see the village during its more peaceful moments, and it wasn't being attacked by creatures of darkness. Just have a little look around. Might as well see if there's anything else around while we're in the area. Yeah, this is one of those games that's very much about taking your time and taking in the surroundings. It is just very reflective, I suppose. Really can engage with it on your own terms in a lot of ways. Like if you're just mostly here for a bit of the social experience of things, you don't necessarily need to go around looking for every single wing delight like I have been. If you're interested in the challenge of finding all the stuff on your own, you can do that. If you would rather have somebody else's help in locating certain things, or just want to explore with someone else or multiple someone else's, then you can do that too. Find some people who are willing to tag along or guide you along. And off you go. I think we should be able to gather enough wax to form a new candle here. I can show what that looks like. There's a nice obvious icon in the upper left corner that gives you the button prompt and everything. You're ready to make a new candle. Once you've gathered enough of the wax, get yourself another candle. And it's nothing really very overstated, just another nice little celebratory moment. Now that our light is full again, can go take a look around again. Now I have found that the flight does take a little bit of getting used to. I think it behaves differently in some areas. Nice little mural. It does behave differently in certain areas. So just learning how it works in each area. Because some places are a lot more open. They have a constant wind current blowing through. You stay airborne longer and you have a little bit of passive light regeneration. Just due to the area that you're in. Just different things like that. Just hang out here for a moment. I figure we do a little bit more exploration and then call that a pretty good wrapping point for the day. Finished up Little Kitty Big City. It was a good time. We got to do all the rest of the things that we hadn't done last week. So getting that all cleaned up was pretty nice. And we got to have a fun little story about the 9-colored deer. Now in terms of what I'll be doing for next week, I figured I wanted the backup game that I had after Little Kitty Big City today to be something that I could do just as a little bit of an in-between, so that I didn't want to end the stream early. I only do this once a week, so I want to get my full 4 hours if I can. Because I like hanging out and sharing game experiences with y'all. Stuff like this is definitely becoming more and more of my speed. Not quite as much about high action, high intensity being the primary type of game that I tend to gravitate toward. So something like this that kind of has a mixture of both at certain points. As dealing with the krill, that's definitely, depending on how cautious one is, that definitely will or will not be a stressful or action-packed experience. But a hefty majority of this game is just super chill vibes, low stakes. You're really not. It doesn't demand a lot from a person in terms of just the experience itself. It is very easygoing. It's mural 1. Wonder if we just go all the way back, if they'll let us get back to the place we want to be. Check it out, I suppose. I'm finding experiences like this to be more of something that I find myself wanting to experience. Just games that have a little bit of room to breathe. I'm just not built for the high octane experiences all the time anymore. I guess I'm seeking more games that feed the soul rather than the adrenaline. I think that's part of why I finally got around to trying this game. I do also want to try out, I want to try playing through Journey. I think that's the name of it. I think the same people who made this made that game as well. Also looks like a very interesting experience in the same, or at least a similar kind of way. I wonder how different it is, considering that this game is largely built around the multiplayer aspect of it, more specifically. That all being said, though, part of the reason I didn't want to crack open a new long-term game is because next week is Deltarune Chapters 3 and 4 coming out. And you know I have to play that. I gotta see what happens. So I wanted to make sure I left things open so that we would be able to immediately jump into that next week. Because I am so curious after what's been set up in chapters 1 and 2. I really wonder where they're gonna take things in the next 2 chapters. And I know I'm not the only person who is intensely curious to see what happens. People have been waiting literal years for chapters 3 and 4, myself included. So it'll be really, really interesting to see where that goes. I'm looking forward to checking that out next week. Journey's a beautiful looking game. It really is. And somehow, I think I've avoided pretty much all spoilers on it, because I think it's one of those games that people recommend going into the experience without being too well informed, because that's part of the experience. I don't know how much of it is quite exactly the same as something like Outer Wilds, where knowledge literally is progression. And once you know things about the game, you basically play the game differently as a result of it, where you can skip over certain parts that maybe are not technically necessary. So, thankfully, I am at least I'm at least partially blind to what Journey is as a game, as a story. I think the only things I really know about it with any amount of relative certainty is that I believe this is the same developers that made this game. I think this game came out after Journey, didn't it? These are the same developers, and then Journey is also a very experience-based sort of game, where it's not really about mechanical challenge or character interaction. It very much is the experience of being in a world, being a large facet of the experience. I think that's pretty interesting, and I'm looking forward to checking that out someday. That's something I'll probably do on my own time, just to keep it as a super chilled out experience. But if we ever need to bust out something with super mellow vibes, this game might not be a bad choice for that. I can't necessarily promise that I'll always have a direction to go in, since I think I'm pretty close to the end of what's considered to be the main story, quote unquote. But there's just something nice about navigating through the different realms anyway. And of course, since it is live service multiplayer, they are still adding new areas and stories and things over time. So there are more things to look forward to in the future as well, beyond just what is considered the main story and whatever else is also currently in the game from previous seasons. But yeah, next week, Deltarune. I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm very excited. I'm gonna have a grand old time. And if y'all decide to join me on it, I hope y'all have a good time with it too. It's gonna be so much fun. I'm gonna have to go back this next week and review my voices that I've given certain characters. Because I did watch someone else's playthrough of chapters 1 and 2 recently. I need to make sure I'm not accidentally incorporating too much of someone else's voice work into what I'm doing, at least without, being consciously aware of it. If I want to make changes to character voices, I want to make them intentional choices and not just totally ripping off somebody else's voices. I mean, there's only so many voices in the world, but I want to at least try to keep them like somewhat organic to what I would have chosen for myself. I'll have to review what I did for characters just to make sure I remember what I was doing and see if there's any changes I want to make from there. You do a great job with the voices. Thank you. I certainly try, and I have a lot of fun with it. I think the way that the characters interact in Deltarune is really fun and makes the voice acting part of it a lot of fun too. I don't I don't imagine that that will change in the next two chapters. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. I am also excited to see new characters because I've gotten so familiar with the the ones that are currently available to us. Gosh, we're gonna get new Deltarune next week. I'm excited. I don't know how else to put it. I'm excited. But that will be for next week because the game isn't even out yet. It's not even out yet. We will be checking that out when it does come out next week, though. I'm very much looking forward to that. That will be all from me for today. So I'm going to pull a little bit of music up here just so we have something to listen to in the backdrop while we're closing out. Just a little bit of something. But yeah, that will be all from me for today. Thank you all for being here and hanging out. It's very much appreciated. Whether or not you're chatting or lurking, I appreciate your company all the same. So thank you for being here. And just know that somebody cares about you because I care about you. Until the next stream, take care, everyone.